up. Get ready. It's going to be a very, very intense journey.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 77 of Frame Skip. I am Austin Eller, and I'm joined by the coach himself, Kyle Newman. How's it going, Coach?
It's going good.
That's good. I'm glad to hear it.
Yes.
I'm also joined by George, Mac Jones Loftus. How's it going,
that's
George?
right, baby. Patriots going to the Super Bowl. It's going to be a Patriots-Cowboys showdown.
What would you guys do? Would you guys hate each other for the rest of your lives if that happened, you and Coach?
Yeah, Coach and I would make a bet. Loser has to shave his head.
There you go.
Oh, wow. High stakes for Coach over there.
That's right.
Yeah.
High stakes.
Oh, well, our teams already played this year. Patriots and Cowboys already played. True. And that was a great game. The Patriots have lost a lot. I think we're 6-4 now. But, the Buccaneers game was, played in a hurricane, and that came down to a 56-yard field goal that, just barely missed. The game with the Cowboys was, an overtime shootout. That was, a great game. I don't feel bad about losing that. The Cowboys are a great team. So, we're in it. I know we're 6-4. We don't have, the best record, but, those are close losses there.
Well, speaking of losses, we're also joined by Seth. Something Slakehouse. I don't know if you even have a nickname at this point.
The
Seth.
Scat Man.
Oh, the Scat Man. There you go. There you go. The Scat Man.
You
Seth,
have the energy. Sorry, Seth has the energy of a dad who just discovered weed.
I feel like this is just my constant state.
Seth, you left us. You've been gone for months.
Yeah.
Why do you hate us so much?
I mean, I was on to bigger and better things, you know.
Okay.
And you weren't doing it for me anymore.
There's not much bigger.
Off beating up other games industry folk to prove his medal as the toughest one.
Yep.
Did we talk about you being worried about fighting Greg Miller because he had such long arms? That's just really good reach. Was that a conversation?
Oh no, that was
whip his ass. Man.
That was your worry, George. I said he wouldn't land a single hit.
Okay.
Greg looks like he has a weak chin.
Hell yes, dude.
Well, now he has a child, so there's a lot of ways to exploit his weakness as well. You know.
Yeah, I'm sure he's tired.
There's a lot of supervillain type things you can do to Greg.
I would just get over top and be like, your kid is always going to remember you as the guy that got knocked out, and just walk away. Yeah.
So Seth, how are you, buddy? It's been a while.
I am fantastic. I am exactly the same I was 6 months ago.
That's good.
I'm just working night shift now, so I'm perpetually tired, and that's all I got to say about that.
Wait, has it been 6 months since you've been on the show?
I don't know. No, it hasn't been that long, but I am
maybe a month or two.
I am the same as I was 6 months ago.
Okay, well, because it simultaneously feels like you haven't been on the show in 2 weeks and also 2 years.
So much has happened.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back, Seth. We're glad to have you back for this episode at least.
Thank you.
So we've got a fun episode for you guys. We're gonna talk about some Xbox stuff because this week is the 20th anniversary of Xbox and Halo Combat Evolved, but we'll get to that in a little bit. We'll first jump into our games we've been playing, and as our esteemed guest Seth, what games of note have you been playing in the past 6 months since you've been gone? I want to know about all of them.
So I don't know where I was. I did end up beating Trails of Cold Steel 3 a while back, and I immediately jumped into Tales of Arise. And that game's fantastic. Tales of Arise, I can't recommend it enough. It's probably the best RPG I've played since Persona 5. Just got a really pertinent story about racism and class divide and stuff like that, and it takes a big twist at the end. It's pretty cool. And then I started playing a bunch of Alan Wake, trying to grind through that mess and complete the story.
What does that mean?
That means the game has not aged well at all, Austin.
To be fair, I haven't played it in 10 years.
I'm sorry, the game just hasn't aged well. But you know what I hate most about it? I think I can handle it if you didn't have to hold the flashlight on the enemies for so long until you could actually damage them. I wish that as long as they were in sight, you could hit them.
Right.
But
Right.
other than that, it's fine. The story is really good though, and I wanted to see how it connected to Control, so I've been trying to grind through that. I'm on chapter 4. I don't know if I'll finish or not. It's whatever. But I also started playing Fighter Z, and listen, I got a beef with Bandai Namco. I do. I got a problem. Dude, they have a very weird problem with both Dragon Ball Fighters and Xenoverse 2, where they've released so much DLC that it's actually hard to buy it. So like when you go to the Xenoverse 2's page, there's just like pages and pages of DLC and individual characters and packs and different packs and the passes for those different packs and then like different seasons. It's like way out of control to the point where they can't make Xenoverse 3 because I think there's just too much for Xenoverse 2. It's really weird, but yeah, that's all I've been playing.
Dude, it's astounding to me that they're still supporting Xenoverse 2. Like
Yeah, it came out
they're
like
still releasing DLC, right? Like now.
Yeah, it came out in like 2017. They're still releasing DLC, and they just announced a new DLC setup for it. So I don't know if they're trying to play like the long game with Xenoverse, where it's like, oh, this is like a perpetual, long distance game or whatever. But I don't know. I mean, it's cool that all the characters are in it, but how are they supposed to make Xenoverse 3 and justify people buying Xenoverse 3 when they already have everything they want with Xenoverse 2? It's
Right.
weird. So
Yeah, that's like the Smash Brothers dilemma. Is like after Ultimate, like what do you even
yeah,
what do you even do?
Yeah.
Right. So that's
maybe that was their whole thing. Like this is the ultimate version of Smash Brothers. You don't need any other game.
Yeah. We're just gonna port this game to every Nintendo system for the next 100 years.
Yeah. I would like to say that like you could just wait and buy like a Xenoverse or Fighters collector or like not collector but complete edition.
Right.
But Bandai Namco never does that. You are forced to go in and individually buy or just spend all your money and buy like all the packs.
It's such a pain in the ass because they do the same thing with like Gundam vs. Extreme, like their Gundam fighting game, which is basically, from what I can tell, just Xenoverse with mechs. And it's so annoying where like they just basically release like series worth of Gundam fighters as like individual packs. And it's like, okay, I would love to buy these, but then you are going to make a new Gundam game, and then these are all like just going to be worthless pieces of code in my old game.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very strange. So I don't know. I wish they would do a better job of managing that. Do you guys remember like when season passes, it used to give you access to all the DLC?
Yeah.
And now it's specific seasons of DLC, and that's way confusing. Where you're just like, what do I need to buy to get all this stuff? I have no idea.
Dude, that is so frustrating. Like that is one of my biggest pet peeves right now. Is like I look at something like Rainbow Six Siege, which has like 4 season passes or something. It just doesn't even make sense to me why that's like a thing. But
well, that, and especially like after a certain amount of time, like I understand paying money for a season pass when it's like fresh and relevant, but like, man, if that last pass came out like a year and a half ago, like I guess like the most recent one should be full price, whatever, and then like you offer that on sale, but like the earlier ones, they need to be discounted, man. Like at this point, like if the entire point of your game is to be like a living, breathing ecosystem, and you're gating people around which content they have, but this content from 2 years ago, 3 years ago is still full price, like it's dumb. It's such like a dumb business plan.
Isn't Bungie pretty good about that with Destiny? That you get
well, kind of, but they're also the same people that if you bought the old DLC, they removed that DLC out of the game. So you literally wasted your money and can't play it anymore.
Yeah, they like rotate content in and out of being relevant. So like as far as I know, you can't even do the original Leviathan raid that came like with the base Destiny 2 game, or shortly after launch of the base Destiny 2 game. So like there's so many people who are playing Destiny now who have just never touched the original raid for Destiny 2.
So frustrating.
I can't believe Destiny is still thriving. Like I'm kind of angry it is. I kind of just want us as a society to move on, like, God.
No, I mean, well, Bungie knows how to make like a shooter that feels good. And like, I know we're going to talk about Xbox games later, but There's very, very few games where like pulling off a headshot feels as good as it does in Destiny.
Coach, how about you? What have you been playing this past week?
I started my platinum run with Miles Morales. So I'm a little bit over halfway. I'm just doing I'm trying to just clean up the map before I really finish the story part. That's kind of like what I did with Spider-Man. Before I did like the last part of the story, I've cleaned up the map and got as much XP as I could, and then finished off the story.
So does Miles have the same problem that the original game did with the crimes, where they just randomly spawn and you have to just kind of around until that you find one of them?
As far as I know, there's no crimes to stop in Miles Morales. I can't remember. I haven't touched it since last year.
There are crimes, George, but it uses, instead of them being randomly generated, you have that smartphone like app within the game where you can go through and like choose like, hey, I want to do this one. And so it always shows
Gotcha.
them, so
That's
you can
right.
do them at any time. Yeah. So it's
That's
a
right.
lot easier.
But I do notice when I'm web slinging around his buddy, hey man, you got to break in here. So there are random crimes, but there's also the main crimes that you got to get is on that app. It's an app in the game.
Yeah, because that was the worst part about the original game. But
Yes.
At first it was for me. At first it was, and then I kind of got used to it, and then it kind of just, I didn't have too many issues with it.
I don't know if that was the worst part of the first game. I just thought there was like too much stuff on the map. But like, I don't know,
Yeah.
like I loved how kind of like sparse Miles Morales was, because like every neighborhood had like a hideout you had to take out in like the original game. And I think there's only like 3, maybe 5 in Miles Morales. And like, I don't know if I just appreciated that coming from a game that I thought had too much, or if that's like the right amount. You know what I mean? Like going forward for like games, it's just like, oh, your stuff doesn't actually have to have 10,000 things to do. Like it just needs to be interesting to do. Like I don't know what the right answer is for game development or game design, but I really liked Miles Morales just because of how light it was.
I'm pretty convinced that the universe wants me to dislike Miles Morales, because I don't even remember that game, dude, because I don't know if I ever told you guys this. That was the game I was playing the night my mom died, right? I was like halfway through the game. And when I came back home, the game was still paused. And I was like, I don't even know what to do. And I sat there and I played Miles Morales all the way through until like I finished it. And like I don't even remember it. Like that's just not even in my memory whatsoever. I just remember like finishing the game and like never touching it ever again. So I'm pretty convinced that like it's not gonna happen.
No, that's pretty fair. It's hard to like untie that game with a pretty awful moment, you know.
Oh no, I mean it's okay. It's just like, yeah, I was just like, okay, well, because I remember starting it up. I'm like, okay, like I can, it's fine. It feels like more Spider-Man PS4. I remember I didn't like how they did his powers in the game, because I remember thinking, how are they gonna continue this with the next Spider-Man game? Because I think in the next Spider-Man game, you're going to play as both of them until Peter Parker ultimately dies. And the next game after that is all Miles Morales. Super predictable.
Well, it's almost like, it reminds me of, the Armored Edition, Batman Arkham City. It's similar, because you get that power up and then you could just take out enemies.
I didn't play Armored Edition because I didn't buy a Wii U.
Wii U.
Yeah.
Why didn't you, Seth?
Because
you're why it failed.
It was the hottest selling system.
Dude, nothing has ever piqued the world's interest like the Wii U did.
Dude, you guys were so on board with the Wii U too. And it was like years of you guys just being like, no, this system is great. I love this thing.
Well, I did. I mean, but I knew that, Nintendo just, it was the wrong thing, but there were some really good games on that system.
Yeah, I had to get so drunk to convince myself to buy a Wii U. I was in Los Angeles. I was at this bar called 33 Taps during happy hour. And I just like kept drinking. I'm like, should I do it? Should I get a Wii U? Like, is it time? And I just got annihilated buying like the heaviest IPAs I could find, and then like stumbling home, stop by GameStop. They probably like legally shouldn't have allowed me to spend that much money, considering I could like barely stand up. But I bought it, and I convinced myself, I'm like, dude, Earthbound came out today. You're gonna love Earthbound. Played that game for 20 minutes, never touched it again. I do like my Wii U, but man, I did not need a Wii U that day.
Yeah.
I just remember when I went to go pick it up. I went to the night before because it was released on a Sunday. So I went there to Best Buy on Saturday. I'm like, okay, you guys doing a midnight release? They're like, no. Okay, were you opening up early? No. What time you open up on Sunday? 10. And I'm like, okay. So I got there at 10 and there was nothing. I'm like, oh my God, this is bad, Nintendo. Like, there is zero hype. And this is Dallas, right? So you would think that there would be people, but nope.
You'd think in a city of millions of people, you could convince 20 to buy a Wii U.
Oh my God. That's when I knew, like, oh no, this isn't good.
That was when I worked at Elite Games, and I remember we got them, and my boss was planning on selling them for Black Friday, and he made this giant sign to put next to the road that said, "We have Wii U's," right? And not a single person came in for Wii U's.
Wait,
It's like begging them to come in. Like, guys, we have them. Come on, please.
I mean, he spelled Wii WII.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, like he was expecting all these people to come in because he didn't sell them on release day. He's like, no, we're gonna hold them for Black Friday, and then they'll all pour in on Black Friday, and like no one came, and not a single person showed up for him.
Rough stuff.
Did it sell over 20 million, or was it stuck?
Oh
right
no,
around?
No, it was like 13 to.
Oh God,
it was like 13 or 9.
It was 13.56.
Okay.
So
what a
that is
disaster!
like
And
nothing.
Nintendo will tell you, oh, we didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, you guys just didn't care about it. Like, what was wrong with you all?
Right.
George, how about you, man? What have you been playing this past week?
I've been playing one game, and I need to have a little rant about this game.
Okay.
So I'm one of the suckers who bought the GTA trilogy, the definitive edition. And this game is like an embarrassment. Like, I don't want anyone to lose their job, but I'd be shocked if someone didn't get fired for this game. Like, I've been playing Vice City. The game is so buggy and so crashy. Like, there are options in the game to like play either performance mode or fidelity mode. And I was playing fidelity because I'm like, yeah, I want this game to look good. And then I would do a boat race. And then every single time I hit the last checkpoint of the boat race, my game would crash. That happened 5 times in a row. And I was like, okay, let me play it on performance mode. Played it on performance mode. Same thing. And then I had to go in and like individually turn off all of like the bonuses or whatever that like made the game prettier. Like I turned off blooming.
Oh my God.
All this stuff. And so the game I'm playing looks about like GTA Vice City on PlayStation 2. Like, it looks like trash. And like only then would the game not crash as I complete the race. That's like one of the nicer stories about this game. Cheat codes disable trophies, which I don't care. I was playing this game without cheats. That doesn't bother me. But like, there are so many people who have claimed that like trophies don't pop, and they promise that they haven't used cheats. And so I also wouldn't be surprised if certain trophies just don't pop for some people, which is really frustrating. I was trying so hard, so desperately to be the first person to platinum this game, and I thought I really had a chance, except, they didn't fix anything about the game. They didn't go back and make anything about the game better. The one thing they did was they switched the acceleration when you're driving from the X button to the triggers. And I'm like, okay, this feels all right. But then I remembered, like, that changes the way you do like drive-by shooting. So all of a sudden, drive-by shooting, you need to like hold a face button to look in the right direction to shoot, then pull L1 to shoot. But that changes the way you actually drive a tank. Like, they just did so much without consideration of like how to actually improve the game. And this is only Vice City. I haven't even touched San Andreas. I haven't touched GTA 3. Everything I've read about those games sounds like they're just awful. I saw some video trying to like understand why the game is the way it is, and some guy had like a developer write into him, and they like did shot comparisons, and like I guess the way Tommy Vercetti sinks when he like goes into water, he doesn't sink the way he did in the console versions. He like floats near the top and just like drowns within like 4 inches of water, which was like a key feature in the mobile games. So like these are ports of the mobile versions of the games, which for a while were the prettiest looking versions of the game. But, you know, we've come a long way since 2012 when those games came out on iPhone 4 and select Android devices. And like, not since Skyrim came to PlayStation 3 have I had such like a reprehensible experience with a game on console. I am so frustrated, and I can't believe this costs $60. I don't know why they delisted like the better running versions of the games for these, and it's just embarrassing. Like Rockstar should be embarrassed. They don't care because they make like what $2.5 million a day on GTA 5. So like why would they possibly give a crap about these games? But like they're called the definitive editions. These are hands down the worst ways to like play the game. Like it'd be better if you just like eBayed a PlayStation 2 and played the games on that. You'd have a better time.
So the really like awful thing though is that they took down the other versions of the games, the actual decent versions, and took down or sent a cease and desist to all the modders that are making those other versions look really good. Which they did. They added like really good detail and whatnot to the characters in the world. So the best way to play GTA was like a year ago, and now you can't do that anymore. Or unless there's like some, I'm sure there's some back sites that you can find, get the mods and whatnot, and get the games. But the really interesting thing I saw was they took a tool in a game design kit and just upped the poly count of the games, which created all these collision detection problems and whatnot. And it's really funny because you can tell that they put absolutely no care into it whatsoever, because there's that donut store that the screenshot's going around. And
I saw this.
It used to be a nut next to the donut, and then now it's a round. It's a round cylinder, because all they did was up the poly count for the whole game across the board, and didn't put any actual care into like looking in and making sure that the game ran well and looked well, because it doesn't. The other thing that's really interesting that I can't wrap my mind around is the rain. And the rain is like so intrusive.
Oh, because it is. Dude, I don't know how. I did the paramedic mission last night on my first try. I was really proud because, like, 13-year-old me. One, it's amazing how much easier this game is when you're not in 7th grade. Like, when you just when you just have like the mental bandwidth of like actually understanding what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But dude, like, it would rain every, I don't know, 6-8 minutes in the game, as it's like supposed to, or like every other day, whatever the count is. And like, it is like driving through milk. Like, you can't see more than 15 like game feet in front of you. I can't believe I got that gold trophy.
Well, the thing is that I'm pretty sure that the rain isn't actually rendered in the world. It's a filter that goes over top the actual game, if that makes sense. Almost like a Snapchat or Instagram filter. But then I saw this weird video of this definitive edition the other day, where the person was standing next to the ocean when it was raining, and the ocean was over top the rain falling, and I'm like, what is going on with this game? Like, how does this even happen? Like, they must not have played it at all when they did this.
$10 is they just like ran it through a script to just like upscale it,
right?
And they just like, oh, it's been upscaled, sweet, stamp, sell, you know. It's embarrassing that like Rockstar, like, you look at a game like Red Dead Redemption 2, you know, this game has the same logo as that game, and like, look how perfect and like picturesque, and like, I don't care if you don't like that game, you can't deny like the craftsmanship that went into that. And this game is just like destroying the legacy of these games that made Rockstar like who they are. Like, it's a shame like that they did this to like such a beloved trilogy of games. And so like, if this is the first experience of GTA, why would you even think the series is like worth celebrating? Why would you think it's like worth continuing?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and it's crazy because you're right. It's 100% the mobile versions of the game, which sucks because it's not just a copy of the game anymore. Now it's a copy of a game.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, man, we're just watering down this masterpiece throughout, you know, this process. And you're gonna tell me that like Rockstar didn't have it in them to just go back to the original games and like touch them up, release them digitally again. You know, that's what's really unfortunate about it. And they put so little care that's insulting to the people that bought it.
Yeah, and it's so strange because like I still have the original digital copies that came to like PS4 and Xbox One and stuff. And like those games are great. Like those versions of the game run fantastic. They look, you know, like a PS2 game, but like a PS2 game the way you remember it, you know, where it's just like, oh, like these colors are sharp in a way that the PlayStation 2 games weren't. Like, oh, the frame rate's better in a way that it wasn't, you know. So it's like when you remember how awesome this game was from 2003, like it's what it looks like on PlayStation 4, but they just gutted those copies. And like it really feels like a Nintendo-esque like draconian, like, no, you can't have fun with our things unless we explain to you the way in which you can have fun with them. And it's just it's embarrassing.
Well, and I'm curious too, like how many people are going to get burned from this, honestly. Like as far as not even just the people that have played these games before, but the people that have or are playing Grand Theft Auto 5, which is the second best-selling video game of all time. You know, it's like, for me, I've never played 3 or San Andreas or Vice City. So like if I had gone back, you know, somebody who isn't so invested in this industry that understands the controversy surrounding this title right now, I mean, I'm sure this is probably still going to sell really well, which is like kind of frustrating, I guess.
Yeah.
To know that like so many people are going to get burned by this. So
there better be like, what's amazing too is like the old games, like the old digital files. Like I know Vice City extremely well. That's probably the video game I've played second most in my life behind Skyrim. That file size on PS4 was like 4 gigabytes, maybe like 5, 6 tops, and like this one was 22. And it's like, okay, like where's all that extra juice? Like what is it? And like they kind of like ruin parts of the game inadvertently, where it's like certain colors just don't appear. So like the way they upgraded the visuals, like they basically just, like Seth said, they just added polygons. Like they smoothed everything out. And like part of me thinks that's like kind of like an interesting choice, where like it is pastel-y and like it is kind of like sometimes it's so like well lit that it looks plasticky. Like it almost looks like Link's Awakening.
right.
And then other times it'll zoom in on a character's face and it just looks like a child's drawing. Like the things they decided to like add detail to and the things they didn't just make it look like such a gross disparity between the two. And like the color of like the voodoos, like the Haitian gang cars, like the color from the original game just does not appear in this version of the game. Like I think there's like 2 things that can do the color crimson. It's like fire trucks and ambulances are the only 2 vehicles that have like the correct color of red that was in the original game that just doesn't appear in this game otherwise. It's just like it's like jaw dropping, like the decisions so many people signed off on and like allowed to happen. It's shocking, and like I wish I could get my money back. I'm so beyond frustrated with this.
Well, there's 2 things I just want to say is, where is QA in the 20s, right? Do we even need it? Because it seems like these companies are going down a slippery slope, right? Because this is about game preservation, right? Game preservation. So if companies don't care about it, i.e. Rockstar, what's going on with this, Nintendo with their stuff that they just released on their online service, putting out just like half-ass product for us, it's going to happen more and more, and it's kind of sad that this is happening.
What's weird is I have more faith that Nintendo will fix the N64 debacle than I do Rockstar will fix this.
Yeah. I mean,
I agree. I'm concerned about either happening, but I think it's more likely that Nintendo fixes that.
The problem is that, I mean, this came out and it's been out like a week now, George, week and a half.
Yeah, I grabbed it last Wednesday. Yeah.
Okay, and as far as I know, Rockstar has said nothing.
Nope.
And the game currently, at least from my understanding, has the lowest Metacritic user score of every game in history. It has like a 0.4 out
Even
of
less
10.
than-
Yeah, which like I don't think you should like review bomb, but like I don't think these games are 0.4s, like 0.4s. They're not, but like
Yeah,
it's definitely it should be the lowest rated Rockstar game ever. Like
It's
this
just-
is embarrassing. Like Vice City Stories ran better on PSP than like these games run on PS5s and Xbox Series X. Like it's like what the hell, man?
In my personal opinion, the 0.4 is deserved because I think a game is a 0 when it's unacceptable, right? And to me, these games are unacceptable. There's no way they should have ever been sold to the consumer. I think a 0.4 is a completely fair score. I don't think it's a review bomb at all. I mean, these games, like, they ruined such a masterpiece of a trilogy that Rockstar deserves the 0.4 score. It's not like, people review bombing The Last Jedi, right? Which is obviously not like a 3. It's like a 4.
right. It's like a 3.2. Yeah.
No. In all seriousness, though, I think people giving it a 0 is fine because it is unacceptable. It's almost, from what I've seen, it's almost unplayable. Where like
it's playable. Like there are certain times where like the game crashes. Like honestly, it's most broken. Well, no, like it crashes and then it starts back up, and like you can, you know what I mean. Like you can finagle your way into playing it.
Yeah, I just
Like play it for a little bit.
Hold the controller above your head.
Well, no,
at a
I get it. I get
45-degree
it. Like,
angle.
well, I played PS3 Skyrim for like as long as I possibly could before like that game just like ate itself like some dumb snake. This game doesn't run as badly as that did, but it's the worst running game I've seen since that.
What system did you get it on?
GTA?
Yes. Well, the new ones.
PlayStation 5.
Okay. Yeah. And I don't see Rockstar saying anything about it because, like you said, they're making $10 gazillion a day off of
GTA 5.
Well, and that's the sad thing to me, honestly, is like, I don't know if it still is, but I think at the time Grand Theft Auto 5 had like the highest video game budget in existence. And so the fact that like a studio can make something of that caliber and then put like so little effort into this is just so disappointing and sad to me. But anyway, it's very clear that those games have their fair share of problems. So I'm curious to see what happens with them down the road. Maybe if they fix them, I'll buy them. But otherwise, no, I'll try out San Andreas through Game Pass, though. I'll give it a shot because it's on Game Pass.
I mean, honestly, at this point, your best experience would be to like fly to Maine, or like I bring my PlayStation 4 to like your bachelor party, and you play the last versions of these games that they release. Like that. That'll be like your wedding. I know I'm supposed to get you like a wallet or like a money clip or
Send
something.
me a hard drive with those 3 games on them. Yeah.
No, I'm not sending you because like that is all of a sudden like these games are now like what is it? What was that Hideo Kojima game?
PT.
This is like those games are like the new PT, right? Where it's just like all of a sudden those are so much more valuable than they were the day before.
So just quickly, I wanted to switch over to what I've been playing, and it kind of goes with our theme of Xbox for our big topic this episode. I didn't talk about it last week because I wasn't on, so I just wanted to talk about it briefly. But Forza Horizon 5, I've been playing like a ton of. I'm about 20 hours in.
Damn.
And at the moment, I mean, it's for sure my game of the year, which is pretty funny because I've said that like for every major game that's come out. I went Deathloop. That's amazing. My game of the year. I don't think anything's going to beat it. The Metroid did. Yeah, and then now Forza. But no, I mean, Forza is such a well-crafted game. I mean, it's near flawless, I would say. So I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
I wanna talk to you about Forza, Austin.
Okay, go ahead.
Because I have some concerns with Forza 5.
Okay.
Because I forgot that, I've also played, not a lot, but like a decent chunk of Forza 5.
Right.
And my immediate takeaway is that the game is excellent. It's wonderful, but it's no better than 4. It feels exactly like 4.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing at the end of the day is it's an upgrade, it's more of 4, but the problem is 4 was already a masterpiece of its own. So I guess it's kind of interesting to kind of think of that. But The thing for me, the reason I love 5 is because the map itself, the world that you're driving in, is so much more interesting than it was in 4.
Oh, really? See, I feel the complete opposite because I have zero interest in Mexico, but I
Really?
love the UK. Yeah.
Oh, man.
So like for me, that was way cooler than like this the Mexico map.
That is
But
interesting.
I mean, the other thing that I was wondering is they give you like supercars right off the bat. You know,
Right.
and I don't think 4 did that. Is that a normal thing for the
Um,
franchise?
I don't remember if 4 did that or not, but I think the thing what they're trying to get at is giving you the option to race how you want to race right from the start instead of having to start with like the slow, boring cars and then like work your way up, which I kind of liked, honestly. I like that I could just kind of jump into the fun stuff as somebody who's played like hundreds of hours of these games at this point. Um, I enjoyed that, but no, I get where you're coming from though. That the map thing is interesting to me though, because I really did not like the map in 4 because it was so much of the same all the time as far as like all this farmland and
Yeah.
like brick building and
I like
stuff.
the
And
winter map. The winter map in 4 was dope.
yeah, the winter map was good. But
Yeah,
anyway,
the winter's cool. I liked how the seasons changed.
I did want to touch on quickly though. Again, ties into the 20th anniversary of Xbox. Halo Infinite multiplayer dropped yesterday at the time of
Yeah,
recording this
buddy.
out of nowhere. It had kind of leaked like prior to the weekend that this was coming, and I think a lot of people weren't expecting it. But then some stuff showed up on like the Xbox Live store like code saying that the game would come out this day, and so I think a lot more people started believing it. But I've played a lot of it. I've probably played 3 or 3.5 hours at this point. Seth, I know you played some. You and I played some last night together, and George, I know you played a little bit as well. I'm just
Yep.
curious, because I've talked about the game a little bit in the past on the show when I played the firefight or whatever the alpha version was a couple months ago. What did you guys think of of what you've played of the, I guess, beta of the multiplayer so far?
It's great. That's what I think. I think it's great. It feels like when you jumped into Discord
Mhm.
yesterday. I told you it's like riding a bike. I felt just like I was back in 2007 again, especially with the Warthog controls, which are
Yeah, still
terrible.
not good.
No, but I think that's what they're going for now. It has to be. It's great. It feels just like old school Halo, but with a modern touch to it. And I mean, feel like that's pretty much all there is to say for me, anyway.
George, I'm curious what you have to say because you had some interesting comments earlier in our private chat.
Yeah, I was playing it on my Xbox One. Game looks amazing on Xbox One. It takes a while to load into a match, but like when you do, like there's no pop-in or anything once you're there. Yeah, it's gorgeous. I just think it plays a little slow. Granted, I've been playing a lot of Call of Duty Vanguard lately, and the way I play Call of Duty Vanguard multiplayer now is like the hardcore mode, where it takes like 2 shots and then you're down. And so because of that, like I just think this feels a little slow and like a little lumbering. And like granted, I didn't spend the most time playing online Halo multiplayer just because I didn't really grow up with a high-speed internet connection. So I didn't touch it until I got to college, and by then you had to pay for Xbox Live Gold, and PlayStation 3 was free. PSN was free, so I played most of my games there. So I never spent too much time with Halo multiplayer. Yeah, I just thought it was a little clumsy, like trying to get from like objective to objective. Like this was pretty much just in like capture the flag. I thought that took forever. There's like one map where it's like smaller, and that one I had a lot more fun with. But like the bigger maps, I think they might be like a little too big. But yeah, I really liked Warzone in 5. I thought that was like a great mode, and I haven't played any Warzone yet or Warzone adjacent stuff for Infinite, so I'm excited to see how that plays out.
Yeah, they do have similar stuff because they have like the big team battle, which Seth
Yeah.
and I and his friend Watson were playing a lot of last night. That's like I think it's 12v12, if I'm remembering correctly.
That sounds right, or 14v14.
Yeah, it's like a pretty high number of people for a Halo game. So, yeah, it's
just Call of Duty, like on the new one, they brought in this mechanic called the tactical sprint, which is basically just like a double jump for running. So like you can actually like move across the map so fast. Like how like you sprint and like your gun moves back and forth in like awkward sway. Like if you double click the L3 button, your gun actually just like goes up and like like up to your right, and you're just going so fast. So you have infinite sprint, and then you have timed double sprint. And so because of that, like the game just feels so quick. And it was just kind of jarring to go from that to Halo, just because like I love the Destiny multiplayer because that was so fast too. And so it's taking some getting used to because this feels a little bit more tactical than those games.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing is like I guess that's an interesting viewpoint, like you said, because you had not really played too much of the multiplayer when you were younger, and I did play a lot actually on original Xbox with Halo 2 and 1, but um, I mean I love it so far. I mean, again, I've only played a few hours, but I really like the speed of it. But the thing is, it is slower. I can see where you're coming from because, like, as somebody who just enjoyed the living crap out of Titanfall 2, I mean that game is very fast paced. And Halo's not quite on that level, but I guess the thing is I still like it because it, like you said, it's got that kind of tactical feel where you'll and it feels like old Halo in that way where you'll shoot somebody, get their shields down, and you run out of your magazine or whatever, and you have to kind of back away and like reload or move around and kind of hide for a second while you're getting ready to continue the fight.
Yeah,
or
you take the risk and run at him and try and melee him.
Right, exactly.
That's
you're both running at each other. Yeah.
So, I think it's the difference between like soccer and hockey and like basketball. Like I think Call of Duty just like at its breakneck speed is more basketball,
right?
And Halo is just like a little bit more methodical,
right? No, for sure. It definitely is. But I will say, George, I know you said you're like not like you'd rather kind of play Vanguard at the moment, but I think if we all get on it, like Seth and I feel like I had a great time playing with Seth and Watson last night because
that was fun.
Doing like, capture the flag and stuff, and like we were like Watson was like saying he needs a vehicle and stuff to go pick him up and like help him bring the flag back and stuff like that. It's like, man, I
mean every game is better with friends,
right? So
and plus I just got an Elgato. I'm excited. I'm going to start streaming stuff, and like this is free to play. As soon as they also like the battle pass was just like such a pain in the ass to level up.
That's my only complaint so far is the battle pass sucks. Like it's absolutely awful. Yeah. It's the progression is really, really rough with the battle.
It's cool that they never expire, but I thought, you'd still progress through them.
Right.
Not at a snail's pace just because they don't expire.
Yeah. So, and supposedly they're looking at it. They tweeted out today that they've heard the complaints and they're going to look into how they can, change it moving forward.
Dude,
so we'll see what they do.
Battle passes, dude. Just give me the stuff. Let me buy it.
Yeah.
Like if I'm paying $15 or $20 or whatever it is for the battle pass,
yep.
Just give me the stuff in it, dude. Like I don't need this leveling and progression system. Make that separate. I'm so tired of battle passes and
I like it though because it feels like you're not like wasting time, I guess. Like you're gonna play this anyway, so like drip feeds you stuff, and so like I guess I don't know. I feel like it encourages me to play more. Like it gets me hooked more than if they were to just give me all the things. I'd be like, okay, let me try out this gun, and then I'd be like done.
All right, and so now we'll move on into our big topic of the show, the 20th anniversary of the first Xbox launch, and of course, along with that, 20th anniversary of Halo Combat Evolved. It launched on November 15th of 2001 here in the best country in the world, the United States of America. So it was like a year late everywhere else. So sucks to be you guys, but we were first. I just kind of wanted to run through some memories of the original Xbox and kind of talk about our thoughts on Xbox as a brand after 20 years. It's still the newest of the three big ones as far as PlayStation and Nintendo and their devices. And so I mean, George, you talked a little bit to me off air about your memories of the original Xbox. I mean, did you get one at launch or when did you end up getting one, and what was your experience?
I did not get one at launch. I went over to a friend's house, and this is back when like they had a Duke controller, and I remember like trying out Munch's Odyssey with a Duke controller, and like I was 10, 11? I was 11, maybe 12. And like that thing was just too big for my dumb little baby hands. I like, couldn't even play. So I just like didn't think the Xbox was for me. And it wasn't until years later when I went over to a friend's house and they had an Xbox And then we started playing Halo together. And like this is when like the S controller had come out, and I could actually hold it in my friggin' like normal hands at that point. 2005, I think it was. Right, that was when Halo 2 came out. 2005.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, so it was like fall of 2005, and went over, played, thought it was awesome. Like talked to my dad, told him like how cool it was. Like, oh, you don't understand. Like it looks so good, and it's like the old GoldenEye game, except like you can really aim at people. It doesn't just do it for you. And my dad got me an Xbox with Halo and Halo 2 that Christmas. And Christmas night, I beat Halo in one sitting. I was up until 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my
Then
god!
the next night, I beat Halo 2 in one night. Was up until 6 o'clock in the morning. Just back to back. I was so obsessed. It was like the first time since Star Wars that like I was just presented with such like a real lived-in feeling universe that was like sci-fi and epic and crazy and awesome. And then that was my introduction to Xbox. I had a PlayStation 2, I had a GameCube, and then after that, every multi-platform game had to grab it on Xbox just because like it ran so much better, it looked so much better. I think the GameCube is like my personal favorite, but like come on, like Xbox was just unreal. Came onto the scene and just ate everything up. It was so cool. It was such a cool device.
Well, it's interesting too that they started working on it because they were worried about consoles kind of taking over the PC entertainment space. Microsoft did, and so looking at the PS2 with the DVD support and CD support, my understanding, I guess, is at least they looked at that and it had them worried, and so they came out with the Xbox, and it just had a lot of cool innovations to it as far as it was. Which I didn't even realize this actually until recently. It was the first console to have a hard drive.
Yeah. Had a 10
had an 8
gigabyte
or 10 gigabyte. Yep.
10 gigabyte SATA drive. Yeah.
Yep. So like stuff like that. I mean, it's interesting to look back, and of course, I mean, you can't talk about the Xbox and not talk about Xbox Live and how that has just completely changed console gaming like in the past 20 years. I mean, yeah, the PS2 and even the Dreamcast to an extent had some online support, but
that
nothing
was
like the Xbox.
I mean, Sega tried, like, right? Sega did a great job considering it had like a dial-up connection, and then PlayStation 2, you needed like a network adapter. Like it wasn't ready to go online out the box, and even then, so few games were supported, at least in the United States, like with a network adapter. But Xbox like saw the future and future-proofed their console, and it was just like such a genius decision. God, I love like the UI on Xbox. It is so 2000s anachronistic. It is such like a stamp from a moment in time. I bought like the Hori pad, like the Duke controller that they made a couple years ago. And it's just like my favorite thing to do is to just like press like the giant center Xbox button on it, because like it does like the original like Xbox like load screen, where it's like the little X in like the lab and like the blobs, and it's like being electrocuted or whatever, and then turning into like the X from the Xbox logo. It's just God, it's so cool. Such a great moment in time.
George, I'll ask you this, and then we'll kind of go through everybody. But what was your favorite Xbox game? Not just from launch, but just in general from the original.
Oh man, I was kind of a weird kid. I was actually really bad about games when I was a teenager. Like I wasn't really reading a lot of games websites. I was mostly reading comic book websites. And that was actually like how I discovered IGN, was like I just read everything they had about comic books one day. I was just like, oh, Xbox, I have an Xbox. I think Halo 2 is like undeniably the best game to appear on the console. But man, like Project Gotham Racing, like that game made a lasting impression on me. Besides that, I wasn't really good about like hunting down first party titles or like to die for games. I bought mostly like movie tie-in games because those were like the fastest ones to go down in price. Like they go from $50 when they launch to $20 in like a bargain bin at Walmart. If I had to pick one that wasn't Halo 2 or Project Gotham Racing or any other like first party title, the original X-Men Legends was just fantastic. Ooh. It was like a Diablo style game. I to this day like it more than X-Men Legends 2 and like it more than Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2. Like that game is just awesome. That game is just, it's such a good X-Men game.
Right. Seth, what about you, man? I mean, as far as memories of the original Xbox, was that a console you got into, or is that one you kind of skipped on, or where were you at with the
Um,
original?
yeah. So I had an original Xbox. I didn't play it all that much. I thought it was really cool. It was really edgy. It was black and had like the weird 2000s like blob logo that came out. Um, I don't remember the game I got my Xbox for specifically, but there's two games that come to mind. Um, when I think of Xbox, the original one, and that is uh, Fable
Right.
and Halo. Oh, you know what? And Morrowind, The Elder Scrolls Morrowind. That's the Morrowind was a big one as well, and I played the absolute crap out of Morrowind. I was way too young to understand it. That game has some really, really, really deep RPG mechanics, like not modern RPG mechanics, like old school D&D type mechanics in Morrowind. It makes it actually not very fun by today's standards. But Fable: The Lost Chapters was a game that I just poured hours and hours and hours into. I played that game so much that like I overlook the sequels as how bad they are, and I'm still hoping that this next game in the series comes out. It's a banger, but yeah, definitely Fable, Halo, and Halo 1. I actually didn't play the multiplayer in Halo 1 or 2 at all. I just played the story and co-opted them with my buddy, and we had a lot of fun doing that. But yeah, other than those three games, I don't think I played my Xbox all that much. I remember trying to hack it later in its life when I was older, but I didn't really play a whole lot of Xbox until like the Xbox 360.
Do you have
Other than,
I know you mentioned those few games there, but did you have like a favorite specific game from the original Xbox?
oh, definitely Fable. Fable
Okay.
was my favorite by far. Yeah.
That's
Oh,
that's a series I've never touched.
I also played. Yeah, that was on the original Xbox. Doom 3. I played
Oh
on the original
yeah,
Xbox.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
that was really good. Yeah, I know a lot of people don't like Doom 3. I think it's incredible. I think
Yeah,
it's like super scary and good.
it's
I
a great
can't believe that game came out on a console from 2001. Like that blows my mind because like
Yeah, that
that game
ages
still
really well.
feels so advanced.
Yeah,
Oh, it's great.
Yeah. Yeah, Fable's a series I've never really played actually, and I do want to go back. The one thing they announced this week with the 20th anniversary is that the remaster of Fable 1 for 360 is getting a frame rate boost for Series X, and so I'm gonna go back and play it at some point because I don't know if it's even worth touching 2 and 3 at this point. But
It's not.
I
Fable
don't.
1,
I
I need to play.
personally, yeah, I don't think 2 and 3 are very good games. Like, I just don't. I don't like
They're
the way
really
they took.
not at
No,
all.
I don't like the direction they took the series, especially in like Fable 3. Fable 2 still had a little bit of a remnant of like an RPG, but Fable 3 is like a straight action game, and it's got some really weird mechanics. But like the worst part about Peter Molyneux games is like they got progressively worse. And Fable 1 was like this crowning achievement where your character aged and the world felt so like immersive. But like they got progressively worse, but he also introduced some really, really cool mechanics in Fable. Like for instance, in Fable 3, you stop being an adventurer like 2/3 of the way through, and in the last third, you're a ruler. And you have to stop this incoming
That's
like
weird.
threat. Yeah, you have to stop this incoming threat, and you have to make decisions in your kingdom based, and they're really hard choices. But I forget, like it's people's happiness or something. Anyway, you grow your kingdom making hard choices, and sometimes you have to be the bad guy, which puts you in the shoes of like the guy you overthrew. Like the first half of the game is like about overthrowing your brother or something like that. Logain, I think his name is, or maybe that's Dragon Age. I can't remember. Like, these RPGs all just
Same
kind of get
game,
mixed up
same
in my
game.
head. Yeah, but the second half of that game was like really interesting, like the type of mechanics they added into it. But other than that, the game sucks. So
Dude, the
that's all I got.
anniversary edition of 1 is awesome.
Yes.
I had a project on my website that I called the Backlog Quest Log, whereas I was trying to beat a game a week for an entire year and write about it. and that was hands down my favorite game I played.
Yeah.
Wow.
Fable 1's really good, man. Fable 1 is really, really good.
Yeah, it's definitely on my list to play at some point. So, Coach, what about you? I know you have talked in the past pretty highly about the original Xbox. What was your experience as far as picking that thing up and your
Yeah, man.
favorite moments?
You were the
with
only
it?
one of us old enough to
Yeah.
pay taxes when that thing came out.
Yeah,
So
you were the
that's
only
exciting.
adult. Yeah.
Right. So it was crazy. I mean, the PS2 had already been released, right? So it was GameCube and Xbox's year, right, to come out. And it was, from what I remember, looking back, it was pretty exciting, right? Because there's this new generation of console wars, right? And now you have 3 players, and everybody was betting against Microsoft. And, I'm sure it took a lot of money to stay in the fight, but they were able to, and I think it was a perfect system for the time, early 2000s. And it was different. This is an American company, whereas Nintendo and, of course, Sony, they're Japanese. So you have 2 different ways of running your business, right? And so they came in, and the Xbox Live single-handedly changed gaming, right? I mean, like, it raised the bar, and it made Sony, because Nintendo didn't care, it made Sony start to think about, okay, what do they need to do for their online community as well, right? So, and it took them a little while. I think it wasn't until the PS3 where it got to be good, right? Yeah. So I bought my system in January of 2004, because I just got out of basic training, and we were bused over to Fort Lee, Virginia, and we were there for like 2.5 months for our training. But it wasn't intense like basic, right? So we could go to they call it the PX, but it's kind of like the Walmart, but on base. And so I picked it up for like $167. So that's what it was down to. Yeah. And it came with the S controller, and it was the purple one, right? No, the blue one. Sorry. It was the blue one. And then I picked up another one, right? So, or maybe it came with black and I picked up the blue one. But I picked up, of course, Halo and Crimson Skies, right? Because I was on such, like at that time, Rogue Squadron was my life. So seeing something similar, but in a totally different atmosphere, was awesome, And then the releases of Halo, Halo 2. Halo 2 was huge, right? I was at Fort Hood, and I remember it was cold and it was rainy, and I got a copy, and I just went through it that whole weekend. But the ending got me so sour that I didn't pick up. I didn't play.
Dude,
but here's
right?
the thing: I didn't play any Halo games until the Master Chief Collection. I went years, like I legit went years without playing, almost like 10 years without playing a Halo game.
So much build up in that game.
What was up with games of that era though, right? Because like you get the curveball with Halo, where like you play as Master Chief, but you also play as what's his name,
the Arbiter.
The Arbiter. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then like Metal Gear Solid 2, right? Like they throw you a curveball where like you think you're playing as Snake the whole time, and then all of a sudden you're Raiden. What was in the air back then where they thought that was a good idea?
But I thought it was a good idea. That's the thing.
Right.
I love that. Being able to wield that power sword, right? And just play on the eyes of the enemy, and seeing what he was going through, what his own people was like doing to him. To me, that was awesome. It was just the ending. Like, yeah. And here's the thing, and they came out and said this. I watched a little documentary, is that's only 2/3 of the game. They weren't able to do the last third. They didn't have time or the money to finish it. So they just had to like cut it off right there. And that's why it kind of felt like an abrupt ending. And I would just remember, like, when I saw that, this was like, after Master Chief Collection came out, I believe. Just watching that and just seeing like, okay, I get it.
What was your favorite original Xbox game, Coach?
I guess it would have to be, well, Halo and Halo 2, up into the ending. But
of course.
Yeah, those two games. I mean, we spent so much time at Fort Hood. The last 3 months that we were there before we moved to Fort Bliss here in El Paso, we legit had already sent all of our equipment. And I remember it was late spring, early summer, and the AC in our barracks were out, but we still hooked up our TVs and we're just playing shirtless, just sweating, but we're just still playing, man. Those are like some good times, man. Those are like playing that, the LAN parties. And now Microsoft at that time made it possible for, to have LAN parties, It wasn't just PC.
Oh, dude. Yeah. So like I would have sleepovers and like my friends would bring over their Xboxes and it would just be like waiting for my dad to go to sleep because like we had like a TV in like the living room and like a TV in my sister's room. And like I had the biggest TV because it was like my long story, but like there was a reason that I had like the biggest TV. It's like we couldn't move the TV that was in my room, but we didn't have like LAN cables big enough to like leave the TVs where they were. So like we would move the TV in the living room into like one corner of my room. We'd pull the TV out of my sister's room. And then we would just like play until 6 o'clock in the morning. Cause I was like around the time my dad started to wake up. And I was like, oh, we got to take the TVs back. We got to like make it look like this never happened. Like,
That's incredible. So I want to say I got mine. Well, my brother and I got it together as a joint Christmas gift. I want to say in maybe it was either December of 2002 or December of 2003. I can't remember what year it was, but it was a year or two after it had launched. And I just remember the most fun time I had with that thing was we co-opted Halo 1 and 2 together like multiple times. Like we would just replay those games together and split screen. And we had just like an incredible time together playing those games. And so I'll never forget that. And of course, playing Halo, both 1 and 2 again online at that time was amazing. And so had a great time with that. I mentioned this earlier before we were recording, but for some reason I got hooked on Mech Assault when that thing came out, and Mech Assault 1 and 2 both. I love those games. And I don't know if they still hold up. I'd love to go back and play them, but that was like what really got me interested in like the whole like mech genre, was just sitting there playing those games, and how interesting the story was and how they played was just fascinating to me. So those were some of my favorites. But no, I definitely would agree with you, Coach. It's hard for me to decide between Halo 1 and 2. So I mean, those are definitely my favorite games from that system. I never played too many other first party games, so I never played Crimson Skies or
dude, so many of those games are like on Series X. Like they had like their 20th anniversary thing the other day. I bought 3 games like for original Xbox. I bought Time Splitters, I bought Advent Rising, and I forget the third one that I bought. But man, I'm just like so excited to like go through and play this, because like it's one of those things where like we were talking about games preservation earlier. It's just like, okay, here's like the best way to play these original games, and like in theory the frame rate will be better. So it's like
higher resolution.
Closer in line with like what the developers intended. Dude, play Crimson Skies. Crimson Skies is awesome. I think it's actually on Game Pass.
I think it is. I think you're right. And
it has to be, because I think it's
a Microsoft game. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And what I thought was cool, what really got me interesting, is the attention to detail to that game, right? So after a couple shots, you get this smoke effect, right, on your plane. So I just thought that little thing just blew me away, But the missions, the water, it was just like, it was a slower version of Rogue Squadron, but just totally different and just so amazing. Like I just played that game to death. So that is a good one to go down and because I still have my original copy in and play on Series X.
It just did so many like smart things that are just kind of like you don't really have to think about today. Like the controller plugs into a separate plug that plugs into the console. And I always thought that was so stupid because it's like, oh, here's like one more thing I'm going to lose. I thought it was so dumb until like one time I actually tripped on my controller cord. And instead of yanking my console like off my bureau, it broke apart. Like it just minimized like the tripping error. It was the first console that let you like upload your music to a hard drive and let you play that back during a game.
I forgot about that.
Which is awesome. That is so cool.
Was that the point of the joint attachment?
Yes. From what I can tell, that was the closest thing.
Like, I was always confused about that too.
I think it was that, and I think it could also plug into like a USB, so you can in theory use it for PC gaming.
Oh.
So like it changed like the actual drive. Like, and Seth mentioned like you can hack it pretty relatively easy. Like there's a couple games you can use to exploit, and then like run custom firmware on there. I'm actually looking into like swapping out the SATA drive on it, putting in a 2 terabyte, and just like figuring out a way to actually back up my Xbox games because disk rot is a huge concern for me, and I've got like a big library of games that I bought since. But like, oh god, there's just so many cool things. It was like the best DVD player. Like, no offense to PlayStation 2. PlayStation 2 was like the first cheap DVD player, but I thought Xbox was like a legitimately better DVD player. Even though like the disk drive, the rubber bands have a tendency to snap. So if you have an original Xbox where like the disk drive won't stick out, it's not the console's broken. You just need to like actually open it up and replace the bands. There's just so many cool things about it. And like, for all intents and purposes, it's basically the Dreamcast 2, right? Like there was so much Sega support, and it just did everything that Dreamcast did. It just dialed it up to 11. And like, it just had so much support from Western developers that just wasn't really available on GameCube. It was the most powerful system of the era. GameCube was 2. PlayStation 2 was the third most powerful at the time. It was the first HD console, right? Because it had like 720p or 40p output, like from there was like an adapter that lets you put in like RGB cables. Like it was just such a cool device.
I will say this before we head off is we were talking about this online. I forget. I think it was maybe last night or when we were playing. Oh, I know when we were playing Forza. Is I spent a lot of time playing Rally Sport Challenge. Like that was one of my jams also. And I was hoping that it would make it on the list, but I knew when yesterday when there was a new list, I had a feeling that those two games were not going to be on the list. And I think a lot of it has to do with the music because there's a lot of like just regular songs on that. So from what I remember, copyright crap.
Yeah.
Star Wars Starfighter Special Edition. That was the third game I bought. Just remembered.
Nice. All right. Well, George, I know you've got a quick little segment to end us off.
Yeah. Seth, since you've been gone, we started doing this thing. We've done this literally once.
Yeah, it's been one time.
It's been one time. But we started doing what I like to call best of the best, where we pick a game franchise. And through all of its releases, we figure out like what was the best game in that franchise. So, for example, we did Call of Duty. We decided Black Ops was the best one in the franchise. We did Killzone. We decided that Killzone Mercenary was the best in the franchise. Halo. I think we overrode Austin and made it Reach.
Yeah.
For Telltale style, just for the campaign. Ooh. It's the best campaign. Oh man, it's the best campaign. For Telltale games, we did Tales from the Borderlands as like the number one Telltale game. And for 3D Mario, we settled on Galaxy being the best one.
Okay, hold on. Before we go any further, though, Seth is an expert RPG master. He has to be the tiebreaker for the Persona one because right now, as it stands, Elijah said Persona 4 is the best in the series, and I said 5. Where do you stand?
5, easy.
Okay, of course. Okay, so 5 wins.
It's not even close. It
sucks to be you,
Elijah.
It's not
even close. It's not even. It's not even close. It's not even fair because Persona 5 came out like a decade and a half later, but it's not even. No, it's not even close. No, 5 beats 4 in every possible way. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
That's all I wanted to know.
Cool. All right, so we're gonna do that for a couple of games right now. Guys, what is the best Kingdom Hearts game?
2.
Yeah, 2. I'd agree with 2.
Coach, any input?
Never played the series.
Okay. All right.
It's 2 with a close follow-up by Birth by Sleep.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
never played Birth by Sleep, but
All right, guys. What is the best Uncharted game?
2.
oh,
No.
3.
3.
Yeah, I would say 3.
I played 1 and 2, but parts of 2, so I have to say 1.
Yeah,
2 and 3. 2 and 3 are essentially the same game.
Yeah,
except
pretty similar.
except 3 is good.
You
Whoa.
disgusting human
I
being.
said it. What is the best? No, I can't do this one without Elijah. Elijah's gonna be mad. So I'm gonna skip ahead. What is the best Star Fox game?
64.
Star Fox.
It's got to be 64.
I'd say 64
right?
instantly. Yeah, no way it's not. Coach, would you agree?
Yeah, I mean 64 has to be
What about the one that came out like 2 years ago?
on the Wii U.
We don't remember that one.
One of the most
Well-
panned games of all time. Yeah.
I mean, like it's just the controls. Like it played good, and then all of a sudden now you have to get into, and that's just Miyamoto saying we are going to force the gamepad down
Physical
your throat on
fitness.
this game. Right. So it's just like, yeah, they screwed the pooch on that one.
They did. Gears of War. What is the best Gears of War?
Ooh, 2 easy.
I say
2.
2 is. I say 2
2
also.
3. Remember when we were playing 3? It was like, okay, can we just get through this? Like 3, I didn't like 3 as much.
Seth is
1.
over here thinking, ooh.
1. Gears 1.
One is great. One is a great game.
Yeah,
Gears
I would-
3
yeah.
was really good until the final boss fight when you're like fighting the Brood Queen or whoever
I
she was
think
on her fish
Gears
monster.
1 may be one of the most unique experiences I have, where I sat down with my buddy and we played it all night co-op side by side. And that game was built like that. It was just made so well for co-op.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would definitely put 1 right below 2 for me, like barely.
Yeah. 2 is awesome though. 2 is so much fun.
And by the way, I guess the remastered edition of what was the
Ultimate Edition.
Yeah, the Ultimate Edition got that 60 frames per
60
second.
FPS. Oh man. Dude, I played through with Fabio. I played through 1, 2, and 3 back to back to back, and it was just awesome. It was so good.
They're good games, but I will say that control when you're running, it's like it's
the
hard to,
roadie
like,
run, yeah.
Yeah. Now 4 they fixed it, and then from what I played of 5, it feels a lot different and better. So Coalition, I guess that's the name of the company now. They were able to make it work a little bit better.
All right, last game of this edition of Best of the Best, Street Fighter. What is the best Street Fighter game?
Okay, Seth, you're gonna have to carry us on this one because I have no idea.
I've got 2 possible answers. I'm torn between 2.
This is a very hard question because depending on who you ask,
It's a personal question. It's a very personal.
yeah. See, for me, my favorite Street Fighter is 4,
That was my first answer. Yeah.
but a real Street Fighter fan, I think, would say like Alpha 3.
That was my second answer.
Yeah. So like, I think the best one is probably Alpha 3, but my personal favorite is 4. But that doesn't. That's not the question.
No, I mean it kind of is. Where like this, the idea behind this was like Frameskip putting a stamp on the best game of the series, like what we think is the best game of the series, not what anyone else thinks, not what they think. Street Fighter 4 is like some of the most fun college memories I have.
Yes.
From like freshman year, because that game came out my freshman year of college. I remember just going to upperclassmen's apartments downtown, trying to get like a friend's older brother to buy us beer, and just playing Street Fighter, like
Yes.
waiting for someone to come back with booze for us. God, Street Fighter 4, incredible game.
But see, that's the problem, because I think Alpha 3 is mechanically way better.
I mean,
deeper.
Yeah, but I'd rather play Marvel vs. Capcom 2 than like any of these games, you know. But
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
fair.
All right, I'm putting in Street Fighter 4 / Ultra because that, you know, whatever.
All right, I'm fine with that. Street Fighter 4 / Ultra. It's more fun.
All right.
Now, I will say it's fascinating that they put that game on the 3DS of all things.
Yes,
I'm dying to get a version of that game because like they put like the super moves like on the touch screen, so you can just like press a button and do a Hadouken. Incredible stuff. I would love to play the baby version of that game. Yeah.
That's the only one I can play, George.
Yeah. We'll do it.
I'm awful.
We'll do it ad hoc next time. Next time I see you.
Wait, did you not play Injustice when we were having that like big?
I did, and I got demolished by you all. Yeah. Man. Dude, I'm awful at fighting games. Absolutely terrible. I can't do it.
Right, I remember I practiced for months, and then Pedro slowly started creeping up on me that day, and I was like, no, I can't let this happen.
Because he had like never played it prior to that, right? Wasn't that like his first time playing it?
Yeah.
Man.
The first time I ever played Injustice, I just moved to Los Angeles, and within 3 weeks, I flew up to San Francisco because it was Podcast Beyond 300. And I got wasted at a bar that I could not remember the name of until I moved back to San Francisco and got wasted in a bar. And I was like, I've been here before. I recognize these walls. But I got drunk with a whole bunch of people that I met at Podcast Beyond 300. And like we went back to their apartment nearby and we played Injustice on Wii U for hours until like 4:00 in the morning.
See, that's why Wii U was a great system. You have memories like that, George.
I don't even know if it was like the night of Podcast Beyond 300 or if it was like a mixer the night before for the people who had like flown in for Podcast Beyond 300. The bar was Rec Room, which is like right next to Soda Popinski's, which is like a bar they've talked about on the podcast several times. And just like an awesome, awesome bar. But Rec Room led to a lot of fun Injustice. And the first time I played a Wii U, I was just like, this thing's not that bad. Which I would later get drunk and then buy one in Hollywood. Right. Just so I could play, a half hour of Earthbound because that seemed like a good idea at the time.
All right, guys. Well, we will wrap it up there then. Thank you all for listening to us. Seth, thank you for your return.
You're welcome. And
it was a pleasure to have you back.
I just want to say, the fact that you guys chose Tales from the Borderlands over Telltale Batman is actually insulting to my character.
Did you play season 2 of Batman?
Yeah.
I didn't. So that was like one I couldn't compare it to. Batman was really good. I just thought that like, I don't know, Borderlands felt like Cowboy Bebop, the video game.
Yeah. It's one of the best interpretations of Batman of all time.
Is that why you left the podcast?
I was going to say, Seth is so deeply offended that he's never coming back.
Yeah, I'll see you next. That's what I've learned. See you next year, bud. It's been fun.
So, thank you all for listening. Of course, if you're this far in, you already know, but we're available on pretty much anything. But who may not know that, your friends. Please share us with them and tell them where to find us if they like video games and Telltale Batman. Maybe they will listen and never listen again,
And I'll tell you what,
very upset.
If this episode has more than like our average listener count, I'll record a special episode with Seth where we just trash each other's stupid opinions on things. I know
my God.
We've got a lot of opinions on movies that we disagree with on each other. And if you just want to hear two friends go at it like 9 rounds in the octagon,
cut me.
Yeah, let's get this episode. I'm not asking for like a lot. I just want like a higher average listener count compared to other episodes. And then you'll hear just Seth and I go 9 rounds.
Yeah. Here, you know what? I'll raise the stakes even more. If this happens, I will let it be an explicit podcast.
Whoa!
Whoa.
So yes, thank you.
That's gloves off, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely.
No holds barred, baby. Yeah.
Of course, you can find us on social media. Frameskip itself is everywhere. We're on Twitter and Instagram at frameskippod. We're also on Facebook at facebook.com/frameskippod. You can find us each individually. I am at Austin J. Eller. George is at PurpleBird616.
That's a me.
Coach is at Frameskippod as well. Seth, you are at Seth the 90s Kid, right?
That's right.
Hey, I'm glad I remembered.
Don't follow him.
Don't follow him.
Don't follow him.
And then Elijah, who is not here tonight, who unfortunately was attacked by some ravenous
dinosaurs. Dino bears.
Yeah, dino bears.
He's
is
dead.
at Loco Lizard Man.
What a way to go.
Find him there.
Yeah.
So thank you all for listening, and don't forget, Persona 5 is better than Persona 4.
Yeah, it's not even a discussion.